Public Works to order, um, which I've done. As chairman of the Board of Public Works, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of COVID-19 and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, I am confirming that we are first providing public access to the meeting by telephone, with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. We are utilizing Zoom through the city's IT department for this electronic meeting. To access Zoom, please refer to the agenda or the city's website for the meeting link. To join by phone, dial 1-929-436-2866. The meeting ID is 988-0259-8004. And the password is 968263. The public may also view this meeting on Comcast Channel 16. Second, providing public notice of the necessary information for accessing the meeting. We previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing the meeting through public meetings, through public postings. Instructions have been provided on the City of Nashua's website at www.nashuanh.gov and publicly noticed at City Hall and at the Department of Public Works Administration Building at 9 Riverside Drive. Third, providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are problems with access. If anybody has a problem accessing the meeting via phone or channel 16, please call 603-821-2049 and they will help you connect. Fourth, adjourning the meeting if the public is unable to access the meeting. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting via the phone number mentioned above, the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call. Let's start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance. When each member states their presence, please state why you are not physically present for the meeting, and please also state whether there is anyone in the room with you during this meeting, both of which are required by the right to know law. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Donchis?
I'm present. I'm not at the physical location because of COVID-19, and I am in the living room by myself.
Commissioner Tees?
Hi, I'm present. I am not at the physical meeting due to the governor's orders. I'm alone in my car, and I just want to state I was asked to, my uncle, who I have oversight over, is in the emergency room as we speak. I may need to leave the meeting from time to time, and I'll try to do so as with the least disruption as possible.
Commissioner Pappas?
Commissioner Pappas is having a hard time with being muted, so she is here and we're going to figure this out.
Commissioner Moriarty?
Yes, I am present, sitting in my office. There's no one else here. And I am abiding by the governor's orders due to the COVID-19 restriction.
Commissioner Shoneman?
I'm present and I'm not attending physically because of the governor's emergency order, and I'm alone in this room of my house.
Now back to Commissioner Pappas. Is she trying to get in by phone or by Zoom?
Mayor, I'm going to call her right now and see.
Hey, Mayor, Tim Cummings here. Just want to make sure you saw that I signed on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, I think I saw that Alderman O'Brien is also on.
Alderman O'Brien, are you on?
Commissioner Pappas is going to call in, right again now. I think she might have got disconnected. So she's calling in right now.
Hello?
Hello, Commissioner Pappas?
Yes, I'm sorry.
No problem. So we're mostly through the roll call, so we will call on you, and you will need to tell us why you're not at the physical location. The reason is obvious, and whether you are alone or with someone else, wherever you are.
Yes, I'm in my kitchen by myself, and I am social distancing due to COVID, and that's why I'm not at the physical location.
All right, thank you. So all members are present. I wanted to mention a couple of things at the beginning. First of all, I need to leave, and I didn't know about Commissioner Tease's unfortunate family situation. I'm sorry to hear about that, Commissioner Tease. I need to leave a little before 7, and I was thinking that Commissioner Tease, Vice Chair, would take over at that time. So we'll have to see how he's doing then to determine how to proceed from that moment on. Secondly, I think we need to add a little more structure to the meeting. So we're going to conduct this like the Board of Aldermen, which means that you need to be recognized before you speak. And of course, I will recognize anyone who wants to speak. For those who are on Zoom, all you need to do is raise your hand and I can see you. For Commissioner Pappas, who's on the phone, Commissioner Pappas just addressed me in some fashion, Mr. Chair, or something like that. And I will call people in order. And I think when it gets to the motions, we should just, rather than the confusion over who's people speaking at the same time and the like, I think we should just go through, what we'll do is just go through the commissioners, one motion at a time, starting with Commissioner Pappas, Commissioner Moriarty, Commissioner Tease, Commissioner Shoneman, in that order. If anybody doesn't want to make any particular motion, just pass and I'll go to the next person. In any event, we've done the roll call. There's a motion regarding the agenda. Commissioner Pappas.
I'll move to approve the agenda as presented.
Discussion? Could you please call the roll?
Mayor Donches,
Excuse me, yes.
Commissioner Tease,
Yes.
Commissioner Pappas,
Yes.
Commissioner Moriarty,
Yes.
Commissioner Shoneman.
Yeah,
There's a motion to approve the minutes of the July meeting. Commissioner Moriarty.
Thank you. Move to approve the minutes of the Board of Public Works meeting of July 23rd, 2020.
Discussion. Corrections, discussion. Could you please call the roll?
Mayor Donches,
Yes.
Commissioner Tease,
Yes.
Commissioner Pappas,
Yes.
Commissioner Moriarty,
Motion passes.
Uh.
We now have public comment. Are there any members of the public who would like to speak to the board?
Hello, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, I didn't even know I was unmuted, so I was eating grapes. I hope everyone wasn't enjoying them as much as I was. So this
No,
is
we are
Lori.
following the same procedure as the Board of Aldermen, which is a 5-minute period of time.
41 Berkeley Street. I know tonight on the agenda of the new facility, and I appreciate that. That's great. I would like to just express that I had started off writing a right to know to the director to try and get documents, what public information on this project, and I was very unsuccessful. And one of the things I did was try to reach out to the board appointed or the appointed board members that sit on the committee to get help on what documents were in fact public documents. You know, it's very hard for a citizen to know what to call out for, and I went through extensively the minutes, but there's not a lot of documentation in the record about the reports that had been produced or what was available. So, you know, I'm disappointed that it's such a struggle, because when I write a right to know to a director and it gets sent up to the legal department, it becomes a total roadblock for me. One, it's written too generally. The legal department is backlogged. They have to sit on it for weeks. And then I know when I wrote something general that there's a very high probability that the legal department is going to deny it based on unclear or unreasonably described, which is very discouraging for me. So I'm not happy with the makeup of your committee, because some of the people I reached out to help to find out just what I could request, I got no response for. So I'm a big fan of replacing those people who sit on the committee with other people who are going to respond to the public. Also, I really like the idea of taking as much of this information that's public and putting it on the website, just making it available to us. When my response came back from legal that they're backlogged and it would take 3 weeks just to read it, and I canceled it, and I decided to take a second approach, which was just to call the director directly to try and find out what reports were available. I was shut down on that phone call and received a call from the office woman named Diane saying that the director wouldn't take my call and that the legal office would call me. And I shut that down because I felt that that was going to be a confrontational communication with me through legal. And they didn't say that they wanted to work with me to help me understand what documents I wanted. I felt it was going to be more punitive and more destructive, and I didn't want to take a call from legal. So it disappoints me a lot that I go through this. I'd like to be able to pick up the phone and go to the closest level where the work is being done, where somebody can help me to find out what's available. So I would ask you to put stuff on the website, and I'm most interested in the finances. And given the COVID situation, I'm actually wondering if we should even be building an office facility now. I know that the whole project is much larger budget than I'm sure I even recognize. I don't know what the total cost is, but I know that buildings that were unhealthy or sick buildings, I'm not certain you're really getting at those right now. And I don't know with this pandemic and the fallout from it, whether these projects are going to take form the way you had hoped they would. So if that becomes an issue, I hope you reconsider what you're going to do, and then what you're going to do with the possible shortfall on the $10 million project with the sale of Burke Street, and then the bond that was approved possibly not being quite enough money. But those are my concerns, and that's my input. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other member of the public who wishes to address the board? If not, we have an update from Economic Development Director Tim Cummings regarding the sale of the Burke Street building.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. For the record, Tim Cummings, Director of Economic Development. I just quickly wanted to join you this evening to just let you know that I have had legislation filed officially with the Board of Aldermen, entering into a purchase and sale agreement on the Burke Street building, and that actually, through the leadership of Alderman O'Brien, was passed out at committee favorably last night. It will be making its way to the full Board of Aldermen, where hopefully, if it's adopted, it will then be executed in short order. The terms haven't changed from what I had previously discussed with you just a short while ago when I told you that this new P&S was going to be coming before you. And ultimately, we are trying to have this transaction close before the start of the new year. That's all I have at this time, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
I'm not sure if someone's on mute.
Mayor, are you muted?
Sorry, no, I was on mute.
Oh, okay.
Does anybody have any questions or comments for Mr. Cummings? All right, we will go on to a presentation by HKT on the DPW office building. Who is from HKT, who's going to begin the presentation?
Excuse me, Mayor.
Yes,
May I just say a few things before we turn it over to HKT?
of course.
Okay, thank you. So I'd like to provide the board with just sort of a brief overview of the history of the DPW facility before turning it over to HKT. It's been a while, so I think it will be a helpful reminder. This again isn't meant to include everything, but I think I've at least highlighting some key points. So the reason for that we are building this DPW facility is to address unsafe and frankly horrible working conditions that our staff currently endure. I know we've talked about this a lot, so I won't get into in great detail, but we have inadequate bathrooms, break rooms, locker room facilities, mold, air quality issues, and rodents, just to name a few problems. I also want to just remind everyone that the Burke Street property was originally purchased for the expansion of the wastewater treatment facility. It turned into a possible site for public works, but that wasn't the original intent. The original intent was for the future expansion of the wastewater treatment facility. We've accomplished that. We've subdivided 2.5 acres from that property, which secures the future of the plant. That's really important because we didn't have any room for expansion. So I just wanted to. I hear a lot that it was bought to consolidate public works, and that was not the original intent. It turned into that, and of course was abandoned because of the cost. So a working group of key stakeholders was created to provide recommendations to the Board of Public Works. Commissioners Ackerman and Tees served on the working group. Commissioner Ackerman was replaced with Commissioner Moriarty, but still served on the working group and has been a significant contributor to this process. On May 23rd of 2019, the Board of Public Works decided to hire a third party to review our buildings and provide a recommendation to provide estimates for both rehabilitation and building new, and provide a recommendation of which was the smartest way to go. On July 30th of 2019, the Harvey was chosen to do this work after reviewing 3 firms. The scope of the work included reviewing all properties and report back to the committee the cost of rehabilitating our existing facilities versus building a new. The Board of Public Works voted to approve the award of the Division of Public Works Facilities Construction Manager to Harvey Construction for a pre-construction fee payment of $25,000 to be deferred until the project is defined and approved by the Board of Public Works, and a construction management fee of 2.9% of the cost of the work. In October 30th of 2019, the working group met to review Harvey's findings. Rehabilitation was found to cost 15.9 million and new construction would cost 9.9 million. On November 7th, 2019, Harvey presented their findings to the Board of Public Works, and the board voted to move jointly with the Board of Aldermen and Infrastructure Committee to pursue and build a new home for the Division of Public Works. On December 19th, 2019, the board gave a favorable recommendation on R19-187, which authorized the treasurer to sell $6 million in bonds for the new facility. At the same meeting, the board approved the contract for HKT Architects for $997,204. On May 7th of 2020, the working group met to discuss a preliminary design by HKT. There have not been any minutes recorded from the working group meetings. We did do a traffic study, which we won't go into in much detail tonight because it was addressed at a meeting on November 7th, 2019. And I'm going to have the city engineer just give a really quick synopsis of that. But we will also be creating a DPW facility folder within the next couple of weeks. The only reason for a couple of weeks is because I'm taking some vacation time. And that will have in it, it'll be on our website under DPW administration. It'll have the traffic study, the contracts, the presentations, and any other public documents that we can find in one place. So the public and commissioners can review that information, and that will be continually updated as we move forward. My other recommendation would be that we dissolve the working group that we had and that the board meet jointly with the Committee of Infrastructure, as those are the two boards who have joint oversight over the project. I think from this point on, it makes sense to do that. And of course,
can you repeat?
Sure.
Is it okay? I hate to interrupt, but can you repeat what you had just said about switching the working group?
Yeah, sure. I just start.
I'm sorry to have interrupted, but I just wanted to make sure I heard correct. I apologize.
So instead of having a working group, we should meet jointly. The Board of Public Works should meet jointly with the Committee on Infrastructure.
Okay.
To review anything in the future, because the Board of Public Works and the Committee on Infrastructure have joint oversight over this project, according to. Okay. So I think that makes more sense, and of course that will be done in public session. And then I just wanted to talk a little bit about finances. Our financial manager, who many of you know has been dealing with a very, very sad loss in her family. So she's been out for a while, but I do have some information, and we don't have a lot. So the total budget we have is $10 million. We have the approved $6 million bond and the sale of Burke Street, and we also have a $300,000 escrow to fund the project. Now, we also are planning to do some of the site work ourselves to try to save some money. But that has yet to be determined what we can and can't do. To date, we've spent approximately $150,000, all payable to HKT, which has come from the $300,000 escrow provided by the BOA. The BOA typically approves escrows around September. So it would have been September, I believe, of 2019. I don't have the exact date or meeting that was approved, but somewhere in that vicinity. We've not sold any of the bond or charged anything against the bond, and we can't do that until we sell Burke Street. And we honestly, we don't really have a project until Burke Street is sold, and so that's why we've moved fairly slowly. Now, I'm certainly not suggesting that $150,000 is not a lot of money. It certainly is, but when you're looking at $1 million contract, you can tell we haven't moved all that quickly because we are waiting for the sale of Burke Street. Hopefully, we will, as Director Cummings mentioned earlier, hopefully Burke Street will be sold, and if it is, we'll certainly move forward quickly at that point. Janet Slamenda of HKT is with us this evening to review the preliminary design for the DPW facility. And I really do want to emphasize preliminary. Janet and Harvey Construction, Carl Dubois, who's also, they're both on this call, are working on schematic design, which is not finalized. So, and again, they can speak more about this. They're the experts. I'm certainly not an expert on schematic design. But that includes things like engineering and geotechnical that'll tell us whether the preliminary design is within our budget. Carl is also here this evening to give us an update on the schedule. Now, the schedule will assume that Burke Street is sold by the end of this year. If it is not, the schedule will need to be adjusted. Okay, so I hope that was helpful. I'm sorry if I took too much time and it was redundant, but it's been a long time since we went over all of that. So I thought it would be a good idea to review. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Janet Slamenda of HKT to give you a presentation of the preliminary design.
Okay, Diane,
If I can just, I'm sorry, I just, one point I want to make. So this is just for the office facility, that's like the engineering department and over at the landfill. And my recollection was in 2019, I think off the top of their head, I think Harvey Construction said it'd be another $50 to $60 million to do the street department and Parks and Rec. Is that correct? Well, I know that they said, but we.
No. For a second, I'm going to interject. Commissioner Pappas, you need to ask to be recognized, which of course I would do, but please just follow that procedure. So go ahead.
Mayor, may I answer that?
Yes.
Okay, so Commissioner Pappas, this is the office space for all departments with the exception of wastewater. So this, you're correct in that this does not include the garage, but it does include office space for all of the departments with the exception of wastewater.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Anybody else wish to be recognized for questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor, can someone turn over control of the screen to me so I can show a PowerPoint presentation?
Well, first, I just want to see if the commissioners.
Oh, sorry.
I don't see anyone. I don't hear anyone. So, yes, I don't know if the screen can be turned over to you or not.
Oh,
Yes,
so.
Diane Thibodeau will handle that. You should be able to share, Janet. I'm hearing.
Okay, so
there should be a button that says share content. And I think if you press that, you should be
share
able
screen.
to.
I got that. And how's that? Can people see that?
Yes, perfect.
All right. So again, my name is Janet Slamenda. I'm a principal at HKT Architects. I am working on this DPW, and just so everybody knows, I've been doing DPWs for many, many years. I have 20 of them that are either already constructed or in design or on the boards as part of master plans for towns and cities. So I have a good deal of experience doing these projects. Of course, every DPW is different, but I wanted to let you know that I'm speaking from experience here as we go through it. I'm going to try to keep this short. I know the time is short, especially for the mayor. I have an agenda. We're going to talk about a little bit of the pre-design process, what we've done before, finalizing space needs, and how we prepared the preliminary options for both the site and the building. And then what the ongoing process is, which is going from the preliminary concepts into schematic designs and preparing for the cost estimate that the Harvey will preparing, and then what we'll do from there. So the space needs programming, we've been talking with the DPW throughout this process about what it is they need. And then programming is not about people coming and saying, I want this much square footage, make it work. It's really about people describing how they operate, how they meet, how they meet with their customers, the public, and what kind of spaces support their entire operations, everything from the toilet rooms to the meeting spaces. So there's a program And in this particular building, I have 6 general program spaces. And they include the shared public spaces where the community will come in and be received, what are the customer service points, and the kind of meeting rooms that they'll have access to. We have operation spaces in the building that Lisa was just talking about for the foreman and cubicles for the staff. We have shared employee spaces will support the DPW, including those locker and shower rooms, PPE rooms, lunch rooms, meeting rooms, mail rooms, general storage spaces, anything that supports day-to-day operations. We have administration offices, including offices, conference rooms, and are active and archive file storage. We have the similar kind of spaces for engineering, more cubicles for staffs. They have meeting and library spaces. They also have printer plotter rooms and storage rooms as well. And then what I call building support spaces, that's vertical circulation, janitor's closets, and all the spaces like mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire protection, anything that supports the operations of a building. So that gets that. Our target for this program, based on the money available, was a 25,000 square foot building, which is where we are targeted and still on track for. The next thing we looked at was what were their site options at this site. And we were looking at the proposed building that we're going to build right now and anything that they do for long-term planning. And we don't know whether this will happen 5 years, 10 years, 15 years out. But the biggest thing you don't want to do is make a mistake with your first building. You don't want to put it in the wrong location. So working with Hoyle Tanner, our civil engineers, we started looking at where we would put any future buildings. And we just looked at it as a big block of space. So we had 2 alternatives that seemed obvious to us. And one was this building that runs north, as you can see the north arrow right up there, up in the right-hand corner. And so the building is running north and south along the property lines and aligning with a new entry roadway that'll be brought in off the main road. And then any of the future structures would be to south and east of it. And we put all the parking to the west of the property. So on that property line. So that was one option. The second option we looked at was an alignment that was really more aligned with the existing buildings on the site. It really didn't take into account where people entered the whole site. Parking was moved, in every different location, west, north, and south of the building, along the property line and parallel of the building. So we looked at it a different way. After discussion with the people that actually use the space and will look at the space in the future, everybody thought that this was the best plan to use as a backdrop. And the red dots represent anywhere that we could possibly put any building or any piece of a DPW in the future. And the green areas were areas that are not going to really change. There's a fire training tower right now, and there is a recycling. So we wouldn't do anything there in those locations. And then there's areas just completely south of that I show in blue there. And that was what else could might the site need? And it could be stormwater management, it could be additional parking, it could be other structures. So those were the major things we looked at. So now we've looked at the site, we know the program, we've looked at the site, and then we started looking at the future. And so the next thing we started looking at was what happens once more money becomes available or you have to replace a building. How could this site be organized? So we did 3 options. I'm not going to do these in detail, but they were made up of the same pieces. They were made up of maintenance, vehicle storage, wash bays, and shops. And then the other kind of things like the fuel islands and the material storage bins and all those kind of things that support a DPW. And each of these concepts was put together to be thought of as future buildings that could be built in stages. They did not have to be built all at once, and they could be built at stages. So we did 3 of them. I'm not going to go through them in detail, but there's this one right here. This is the area up at top here would be where the old recycling is. So just get yourself oriented. And then the next option was this one. Again, all the same kind of pieces, but a different organization. And the third one was this one. And the reason we do so many of them is we really want to explore the opportunities and the options and the restrictions of it. So you can see this one is different than the other two because we actually put a vehicle storage building off of the main roadway. And, we wanted to think, well, what happens if you do something like that, which is very different. So we explored that. And what that told us was that the location of the office building could be placed and all the other pieces could be built in the future. And that office building would not impact the locations of those buildings, and everything could work in some orderly fashion. So that's what this exercise proved. So from there, we involved our landscape architects and our civil engineers into it and said, okay, what would we want this building to look like in the future, and how would what do we need to do? So the drawing on the far right is a civil engineering drawing where they were looking at entry points and parking. They were looking at utilities, so that's what that represents. The drawing in the center is the landscape architect saying, okay, this is a public building for the city of Nashua. What should that mean? It's also on a landfill. It's got a buffer of a neighborhood. What could we do and keep that landscaping simple and appropriate, provide buffers to the landfill, plant trees around entries to improve the air quality. So we looked at things like that. So we were emphasizing the entry sequence, which was really important because the visitors to this building, we don't want to get them mixed up in whatever else is happening on the landfill. We want to keep them focused on getting to the building and into the building as simply as possible without getting them potentially lost on the site and involved in anything else that's going on. So this is the process. This was looking at full build out in how many years. From there, we began to look at the actual building itself, what it would look like. And we knew that the budget was limited and we were trying to keep to a very simplistic shape that would not impact the future building. So we went with a rectangle as a starting point, and we had that center entry, and we thought of the organization of it being very important. I spent time talking to people about how they wanted to operate and how they wanted to bring the public in and who needed to interact with each person. How do you control movement through the building? Things like that. How does the employee enter the building? How do people exit the building? How do you attach to the building in the future? All those kind of things. And we put all this into play. We did a lot of sketchy concepts. We call them bubble diagrams. This person's next to this person. Should we put this person on this floor or the other floor? And this is the plan that most represented, and it's still in design, most represented what people felt was the best operation. So where you see the big red triangle, that's where you enter the building. And immediately there's a service point right there. So there are people right there that can meet with you. So I'm gonna get this a little bigger for you. So you see the red area come in, you have the green arrow where there's a service point. There are 9 administrative assistants with direct access to the service point. So instead of going to a bunch of different buildings to be serviced, everybody is in one location. They can respond and they can take you into a small meeting room or a larger meeting room. They can get things out of storage. That, somebody needs something about recycling. They have access to those spaces really quickly. And there's also public toilets. That also there's vertical access there. There's a stair and an elevator to take you to the upper floor. The space in the back, the blue things in blue are staff spaces. Those are the locker rooms for the men and women who work in the department. And that is not planned for everybody that eventually come to the site. We'd have to do an addition eventually. But what we did put in right now is all the plumbing fixtures, because you don't want to have to keep adding all that stuff on. That is really a better way of doing that. So we did that. On the other side of that entry to the left is the multipurpose room. And that is planned to be subdividable and be used as meeting space on a daily basis, lunch rooms, large meeting room, public meetings. And that has a separate entry and exit point and also access to the public toilets. And and what's in blue right there are a more operation space. The foreman would all be working in one area. And then they would use the kitchen and that for lunchrooms and things like that. So that's the first floor. So there's most of all the public access points and meeting spaces are on the first floor. The second floor consists of the public spaces and administration and engineering. On this, the right side is administration and the left side is the engineering portions. So you come up the stair or up the elevator and you are in the same kind of a space you're in the first floor. You have direct access from a service point to people that can help you do whatever you need as it relates either to administration or engineering. And they're enclosed in that space, so they're not sort of wandering the building. They get to one place and they know they have someone who can help them immediately. And then if they are coming into a meeting or something, then obviously they go through the doors. There's toilet rooms available to them. There's small meeting spaces or big meeting spaces. So this is the public area of that floor. On the right side is the administration area, which has a lot more private offices because of the work they do. There's spaces for the superintendents, the directors, the assistant directors, the large meeting room that is right now used by the board when they meet. And there's things like archive files and archive files, storage rooms, all those kind of support spaces. And on the other side are the engineering, which is a bigger department, more open cubicles, workspace for the engineers, library and meeting spaces. They have their printer plotter rooms. They have a lot of file storage, active and archival file storage, and some, survey engineers, lockdown rooms for, valuable equipment and things like that. There are also, as a lunchroom up here, or a small lunch space up here, and coffee area for people, not very small, but that's up on that floor. Once we kind of got the plan settled, and these are the red, all this red stuff is all of the building spaces, stairs, elevators, toilet rooms, mechanical spaces. So they're scattered throughout the building. Working with the engineers, we kind of talked about where they might be located to minimize their need, but get them well located. So we continue to work with them to make sure that we've got them in the right places. But the toilet rooms stack, the stairs stack, obviously, and elevators, and the common meeting rooms stack. And then we started looking at the massing for this building. What's this building going to look like? What are the materials of it? Where are the window openings? How tall is it? All those kind of things. We're still working on this portion of it. But we know this is a DPW, and I know from doing all these DPWs that you need some pretty heavy duty materials to maintain this building. So you want a base that's very solid, masonry base of some sort. The middle to the top of the building could be masonry as well, or metal. We know that years ago you saw a lot of metal stuff going up, but the price of the metal is going up, and the insulation systems that are required for them. So there's a thinking that the costs of an all masonry building and a metal building are coming almost at the same location in a cost point. So we started looking at both of them, and we'll be working with Carl to see if there's a way of saving money by changing materials. But we also look at openings and window openings and window groupings on this thing. We also look at entry points, canopies, signage, look at the whole package. So we did this study. We did a lot of studies that I sketched personally, but these are the ones that we presented. This is what it may look like in a three-dimensional view. These are really early sketches, but we were looking at the window patterns and how you turned the corner, where the signage was, where the materials. You can see there's masonry on part of it, and there's that gray on top is an alternate material, whether it's metal or something else. So we looked at that. This is another study we did. This is a different kinds of windows, different proportions to the windows, how you glazed. It faces west, so we looked at canopies on this one, sun shading canopies on this to see if we can help with that kind of thing. So this was the same thing. You can see this one always the same material. This one was all done in masonry. This is what one of those might look like. Again, early sketches of it, but we have the opportunity now with our computer programs to turn these out really rather quickly. So we started looking at this, and with that, the option number 2 is the one we have been developing more because of the window pattern was made more sense for the users behind it. The material, and we're still looking at materials though, so that's still up for discussion. So we did this, so that's the next thing we do. We also are looking at mechanical systems at this time. So we looked at more than 2 of them, but we asked our engineers to describe a series of them from the because of the budget, and to look at the most expensive to the highest end thing out there. And we looked at, and we spent time talking to Harvey with the engineers and that, and talking about 2 that seem realistic and likely to do. So when Carl does do the estimate, he will look at both systems and price them. And so you'll have a base system, which will be the packaged gas-fired rooftop units. And then there'll be what the delta would be if we went to the heat pumps system. And there's still a lot of room in this particular world to have discussions about systems. But this is the one that affects the budget quite a bit. The electrical isn't going to change a lot. You're going to see the same kind of lightings in every kind of building, security, but mechanical systems do vary dramatically from a budget point of view. And our next step is to finalize the design, coordinate the work of the design team, and it's the art. I'm the architect, but we have civil engineers, landscape architects, structural engineers. MEPFP is mechanical, electrical, plumbing, fire protection engineers, and a code consultant. And the codes are very complicated nowadays, and they are very helpful in helping us fine tune issues related to code, so that when we get to the process of working with the building department, it's a really easy process for us. We'll work with Harvey to verify the costs of this project and make sure that we continue to stay on the budget. And obviously, we'll be scheduling upcoming meetings to present that final design to the board. So that's my presentation. Does anybody want to go back, or should I stop sharing? Hello?
Why don't you stop sharing for the moment?
Okay.
Now, do any of the commissioners wish to be recognized for comments or questions? I don't see anyone, and I don't hear anyone. All right, then the next item, we will go to Parks and Recreation Department. We have motion A, and for that I will call on Commissioner Tease if he's on the meeting at this moment. He doesn't appear to be, so Commissioner Shoneman.
We move to approve the purchase and installation of a video monitor camera systems from Johnson Control Security Solutions, Nashua, New Hampshire, for the total purchase price is $56,003. Funding will be through Department 177 Parks and Recreation Fund Trust, Activity David Dean Skateboard Park and Department, 161 Streets Fund Capital, Activity Building Security.
And I don't know if Ms. Foto or Mr. Caggiano is going to address this. Mr. Caggiano.
Hello, Nick Caggiano, Park and Rec Superintendent. This item is to purchase cameras for the skateboard park. The skateboard park was supposed to have cameras originally, but the funding wasn't sufficient, so we allowed some time to pass in the trust to build up some funds, and we're now prepared to put those cameras in, which are very important. At the same time, we're going to look to upgrade some cameras at the street department and add a few more that's needed there. And this is all done through IT, their systems. They have a general agreement with Johnson Control Security Solutions, and it's going to be very valuable. We're going to get a little bonus out of it. We're going to be able to pick up the entrance to Mine Falls Park as well, which you never know may come in handy.
All right, thank you very much. Do any of the commissioners want to be recognized?
I would like to be recognized.
Commissioner Pappas.
So just a couple of questions. I'm just wondering if, so it's going to be Parks and Rec's money that's used for the skateboard park, but we're going to get some benefit at the street department. Is that correct?
Park and Rec Superintendent. No, we're just combining it because of the location. The DVR is going to be located in the traffic department, but the work at the street department is paying independently out of the street department budget,
Okay.
capital money that they have. So, skate park paid for by the trust, street department paid for out of their budget.
Okay. And can I, Mr. Mayor, can I be recognized for another question?
You're on mute, Mayor.
I'm sorry, the thing keeps going on mute. Yes, Commissioner Pappas, please go ahead.
Have we had significant damage over at the park? Because 56,000 does sound like an awful lot. It sounds like a decent chunk of change. So have we been having significant security problems or other sorts of problems over there?
Nick Caggiano, Park and Rec Superintendent. When the park first opened, it was pretty well taken care of itself. But as time has gone by, there's been some issues where we've had to go and remove graffiti. There's been a few other issues where people were asked to leave, and there was one altercation amongst the kids that the
Okay.
PD had to respond to. The price is significant, but you're getting 9 cameras that are going to hold 30 days worth of data, and it will be able to be viewed on-time solution. So if I want to look at it, or the director, you can just look on your cell phone and see what's going on there. And that's going to be very helpful because we'll get a call or a report, hey, there's a problem there. By the time we get there, everybody's gone. Because, our response time isn't a minute or two. So this is going to help us backtrack and say if something was damaged, if somebody did something, we'll be able to work with the PD and just back up the DVR and see what actually happened.
So you think it's so in your professional opinion, which we have a great deal, I certainly have a great deal of respect for, you think it's worth the dough?
Yes, absolutely. If you compare it to other camera systems that we've put in and maintained, it's right. And having them consistent throughout the city with IT is probably the smart way to go.
And decent clarity? Is there decent clarity on the camera?
Yep. You'll be able to
Okay.
IPs. You'll be able to zoom in and get a license plate number.
Okay. Thanks a million.
All right, thank you. Any other commissioners? I don't see anyone. So the motion is was presented by by Commissioner Schoen. Would you please call the roll?
Mayor Donches,
Yes.
Commissioner Tease. Oh, Commissioner Pappas,
He's not on the meeting right now.
Yes.
Commissioner Moriarty,
Yes.
Commissioner Schoeneman.
Yes.
Motion passes. We now have item B, Commissioner Pappas.
Mayor, may I just interrupt just for a moment?
Yes.
May we excuse Janet Slamenda and Carl Dubois from the meeting?
Yes, of course.
I wanted to let you know you could log off. Thank you very much
Thank you for
both
coming.
of you for joining us. Okay, thank you, Mayor.
Commissioner Pappas for motion B.
Okay, I move to approve the purchase and installation of a playground of installation of a playground for Lincoln Park from utility for You to Play Playgrounds Inc. of Uxbridge, Uxbridge, Mass, pursuant to the Massachusetts contract number VC 0005 10633 FAC 104 in an amount of $97,421. Funding will be through Department 177 Parks and Recreation Capital Fund Activity Lincoln Park Improvements.
Who's going to discuss this? Would it be Mr. Caggiano? Please go ahead.
Caggiano, Park and
Yes.
Rec Superintendent. Good evening. We identified problems at Lincoln Park several years ago due to the landfill, which is underneath the park, adjusting over time, and we're getting settlement. And one of the things that happened is we had to remove the playground because those footings were coming out of the ground, and then I deemed it dangerous. So I spoke with the director, and we decided to pull the playground out. So we got capital money to improve the park. We're going in doing that right now. We're working on the upper level. Next year, at this time, we'll be working on the lower level. We're working with the street department. And we're going to improve the playground area and make it so that it's a little raised. We're going to play with some grades. And we're going to not have wood chips that you usually see. This is going to have a cushioned safety surface, very similar to Legacy Park. And it's going to take care of the water drain issues that we had. It's well needed. There's in that quadrant with the city, we have very few playgrounds. We only have Navajo Park, which only has a swing, Lincoln Park for that whole neighborhood, and the only other place the children could go is they'd have to go over to Thornton Road, and that's a ways away, and they'd have to get over Amherst Street. So I think it's important for the neighborhood and the community that we put the playground back.
And anyone wish to be recognized, commissioners?
I would if I guess I didn't hear what you said, what you're using instead of wood chips.
It's Nick Caggiano, Park and Rec Superintendent. It's going to be a cushioned surface. So the process would be the poles will go in. We'll work with the street department, and we're going to pave a rough paving of the area. Then they come in and they reinstall the playground, and then this epoxy material, very thick cushion, much like Legacy Playground over by Fairgrounds, is put in.
Okay.
And what that'll do is that will shed the water in the proper direction, and the chips won't float. Go down.
Okay. Yeah. If I can, Mr. Mayor, I actually think that you've done a great job at updating, playgrounds throughout the city, and I think that we've done a great job at updating them and putting in equipment that is able to include all children. And if I may, I wasn't sure. I know oftentimes at the end of someone's section on the agenda, sometimes people stay, sometimes they go. But I can't help but to recognize I was happy but saddened to hear. I was happy for Superintendent Caggiano that he's going to be retiring, but sad for the city because he has been absolutely outstanding. And in addition to, he's been here for over, I thought it was over 20 years. But, in addition to being the superintendent, he's actually my neighbor because, he is right across the way. And I just wanted to recognize that it's funny. Anytime I hear anyone speak about Nick Caggiano, and I think of what my husband says, and everyone else says the exact same thing. They either say, "What a decent guy," or what a nice guy, he cares so much. And then someone else always loves to say, he's a nice guy, but he knows his onions. And I think that these gonna, it's a real loss to the city. I'm very excited for Superintendent Caggiano, and he's had a good run for 20 years, and I wish he'd stay 20 years longer. But I fully understand it's a well-earned retirement, and I certainly hope he knows I wish him the best. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Pappas. And I would like to, I don't know if Nick is leaving or not, the meeting right now after his presentation, but I will be leaving it before the end at around 10 to 7. And Nick has served the city very well for many years. Of course, he preceded me coming in as mayor by many years, and has done a great job with the parks. A lot of improvements have occurred under his watch. Of course, he's taken care of Holman Stadium and kept it in really nice shape. But I see from his letter that he has clear reasons for his desire to retire, and we will miss Nick, but we have greatly appreciated you, and I have personally, but I know many other people have as well, and thank you for all that you've done for the city of Nashua.
Thank you, Mayor.
Anyone else wish to be recognized to either ask or address anything to Mr. Caggiano? All right, we will go. We need to take the roll on this item. Would you please call the roll?
Mayor Donches,
Yes.
Commissioner Pappas,
Yes.
Commissioner Moriarty,
Yes.
Commissioner Shoneman,
Yes.
Motion passes. We're now onto the solid waste department. Motion A, Commissioner Moriarty.
I move to approve the purchase of two 12 by 60 Silverline office trailers from the Triumph Modular of Littleton, Mass. for the total purchase price of $160,460. Funding will be through Department 168 Solid Waste Fund Grant Activity Gopher Grant.
Is Mr. Ibarra going to address this? You're on mute if you are.
I
believe that would be Mr. LaFleur that was
Yeah,
speaking.
Superintendent LaFleur, Mayor.
Oh, I was thinking street department. I'm sorry. Mr. LaFleur, are you on?
Yes, Jeff LaFleur, Superintendent Solid Waste. We're looking to purchase these two trailers because of the times that we're having right now with COVID and social distancing. Winter's fastly approaching us, and we are going to need a place to assign our employees come wintertime, especially at the solid waste and the parks department. So this is going through the Gopher grant. We're taking the opportunity to get two trailers like this. And like I said, we'll be able to social distance and be able to keep everyone safe while taking breaks.
And warm.
And warm.
Right now, we're taking breaks. I'm sorry, Mayor. It has to be recognized.
Go ahead.
May I be recognized?
Yes.
This is going to be hard. This is going to be hard for me because I'm used to speaking out. Right now we're having our breaks and doing our all of our assignments outside under tents. Once it gets cold, we won't be able to do that anymore. So that's another reason that it's important to have these trailers so that we'll have a safe, warm place for our staff to both be assigned and take breaks.
Any commissioner want to be recognized? Comments or questions? I don't see anyone.
Oh, I will. I didn't always want to be the first one to speak.
Commissioner Pappas.
So a couple of questions. I noticed what they had. This sounds strange, and it might be a stupid question, but do they have bathrooms in there?
No, there's no bathrooms in these. These are just fully wide open trailers for the maximum amount of space. We have restrooms at our facilities, and that's where they'll be parked or set up, is right next to our bathroom facilities.
Okay, so even though it's under solid waste, one's gonna be at solid waste and one at Park and Rec?
Yes, I didn't want to confuse everyone by doing two separate motions, two different departments. So where it's going through the Gopher grant, I just decided that I would speak to both.
Oh, okay, and, so will we be able to keep those I assume that it's not a lease, it's a
Nope.
purchase, and we'll be able to keep those afterwards?
Absolutely, absolutely. We will own these pieces of equipment, and we've already thought about, there'll be different opportunities for us to use them. For instance, at Greeley Park, at some point there'll need to be some kind of presence there, so we'll use the trailer
Right.
there. And my trailer at the solid waste department, I could convert that into my scale house if it worked out.
Okay, and I guess just the last question, did we ever consider what we might do for the street department for folks who are having problems with the mold, or how they might social distance during the winter months? I guess I don't know if it's to you or the director.
You want me to start, John? Mayor, may I speak to that?
Please.
Okay. So Commissioner Pappas, we are working on removing some of the mold. We have a contractor coming in. Unfortunately, they're extremely busy, so I don't think they're coming in until, and the superintendent Ibarra can correct me, but end of September, early October timeframe. Is that correct?
Mid-September.
Okay,
Mid-September.
Mid-September. So we are addressing that, although again, there's mold throughout that building, so we do have some concerns for those people. As far as social the office help, there are only 3 people in the office portion of the building. So they all have their separate spaces. They're wearing masks when they're in common areas like we're doing in all our buildings. And as far as, we have a very large garage, so we are spreading people out in that garage. It is heated. So that's how we'll be handling social distancing and for the remainder of the staff.
Oh, thank you very much.
Any other commissioner? I see Commissioner Shoneman.
Yes, Commissioner Shoneman. I'd like to say for the record, this seems like an awful lot of money for what you deem to be a temporary problem. COVID will eventually not be an issue anymore. However, it is redeemed by the fact that they will clearly be useful for other things down the road. I think that you will probably utilize this space well. So I think I'm willing to support it. I don't know what the Gopher grant is. If somebody could explain that a little bit to me and where that money is coming from, I'd appreciate that.
I can explain that. So the Gopher grant is money allocated to the city of Nashua by the state of New Hampshire. Money originating from Congress through the CARES Act. So a certain amount was allocated to New Hampshire, and that was divided among all the communities. We were allocated about $2,100,000 to spend on COVID-related expenses, and this expenditure will be covered by that COVID Act reimbursement money. And the term Gopher, it's an acronym of some kind developed by the state of New Hampshire. I don't really even know what the long title is, but Gopher is an acronym which refers to the state's distribution formula.
You want, Mayor, would you like me to tell you what it stands for?
Please.
I looked it up. I've got to be honest with you, I didn't know either, but I was curious. So I looked it up. It's Governor's Office for Emergency Relief and Recovery is what Gopher stands for.
No, may I speak again, please?
Yes, please.
We received an email from a member of the public suggesting that the Gopher grant has already been used for other things and was depleted. Can you speak to that?
Yes, the Gopher grant is 2,000,001. I would say there still remains probably a little more than half of that has actually been expended or under contract. There are estimates for a number of other projects, all of which are COVID related. Is it possible, and there's a large expenditure being made in City Hall to reconfigure some of the areas of where there's the greatest public interaction, those being the area of the automobile registration, city clerk, and assessing. And those are going to be rebuilt to have kind of individual stations for people to sit at with plexiglass and the like, separated sort of like in a doctor's office. And these plans were developed through a large committee effort led by Justin Cates, the emergency management director, and Bobby Bagley, director of public health. And the thinking really is that it will certainly assist once we do this, we'll be able to reopen more fully to the public for these services. But also, this is the third or fourth epidemic that's come along, H1N1, SARS, COVID-19. So this will help us anticipate, the City Hall will help us anticipate what might occur in the future. And getting back to your question directly, if it's possible that we would go over the total Gopher amount, especially when this City Hall project is fully bid. It hasn't even been bid yet, but when it is, we get the bids, it's possible we would go over, but the remainder of the money would come from, there's a trust fund for City Hall improvements, which has money in it. And if there is an excess, the City Hall project would be completed using the City Hall funds that we have on hand. Now, that was kind of long and involved. If you need any clarification on any of that, please ask. Any other commissioners?
If I can be recognized?
Yes, Commissioner Pappas.
So do we have enough dough to pay for it sounds like the City Hall project isn't fully set up yet, but do we have enough dough in the account to pay for those trailers?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else? Commissioners? All right, could the clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Donches,
Yes.
Commissioner Pappas,
Yes.
Commissioner Moriarty,
Yes.
Commissioner Shoneman.
Yes.
Motion passes. We now on to the street department. Motion A, Commissioner Pappas.
Donovan.
I'll move to approve change order 2 to the contract of Stevens Marquis Associates, Inc. of Merrimack, New Hampshire, in the amount of $22,299 for the painting of 2 fuel storage tanks located at the street department. Funding will be through Department 161 Street Funds, General and Escrow Activity Fuel Depot Rehabilitation.
And I believe Mr. Ibarra is going to speak to this.
Thank you, Mayor. Happy to answer any questions on that. As you know, the board approved the rehabilitation and the design build of the fuel depot located at the street department, 9 Stadium Drive. Part of that was to develop the SPCC plan, which is the Spill Prevention, Control, and Countermeasure Plan. That required inspecting those 2 tanks that contain our diesel and our unleaded fuel at the street department. That services both the ambulance, fire, and the police department, school department, and public works. Through the inspection process, which was internal and external on those tanks and all the piping, it was determined that there was enough scaling and pitting that those tanks needed to be ground down in areas, primed and repainted. So prior to our inspection with the Department of Environmental Services from the state of New Hampshire, we would like to have these taken care of so we don't see any issues, and it'll extend the life of those tanks, which did pass the internal inspection.
The commissioners,
If I can be recognized,
Commissioner Pappas.
how's the project going?
It's good. We're hoping to have our final inspection through the state next Wednesday, if all goes well.
So is it right on schedule, a little ahead, or?
We had a little setback, but we're doing pretty well.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Any
you.
other commissioners? Could you call the roll, please?
Mayor Donches,
Yes.
Commissioner Pappas,
Yes,
Commissioner Moriarty,
Yes.
Commissioner Shoneman,
Yes.
Motion passes. We're now on to the engineering department. We have motion A, Commissioner Moriarty.
Move to approve the residential and commercial wastewater service permits and fees as submitted.
Any discussion? Anybody want to be recognized? Could you please call the roll?
Mayor Donches,
Yes.
Commissioner Pappas,
yes,
Commissioner Moriarty,
Yes.
Commissioner Shoneman,
Yes.
Item B, Commissioner Shoneman.
I move to approve the following poll license petitions, TSNH number 21-1527 and number 21-1531.
Anyone want to be recognized? Could you call the roll, please?
Mayor Donches,
Yes.
Commissioner Pappas,
yes,
Commissioner Moriarty,
Yes.
Commissioner Shoneman,
Yes.
Item C, Commissioner Pappas.
I move to consider the hardship request from Pennachuck Water Works for the excavation to repair a hydrant gate valve in the vicinity of 22 Beauview Ave.
Anybody want to be recognized? Could you please call the roll?
Mayor Donches,
Yes.
Commissioner Pappas,
Yes,
Commissioner Moriarty,
Yes.
Commissioner Shoneman,
Yes.
Motion passes. We have item D, Commissioner Moriarty.
Move to consider the hardship request from Pennachuck Water Works for excavation to extend a water main in Chestnut Street.
Anyone wish to be recognized?
I would.
Commissioner Pappas.
So, and maybe I didn't read it. I thought I read it pretty carefully. So it looks like it's wanting to extend a water main in Chestnut Street. So is it adding a new service? Is there a reason that particular service had to be added?
My name is Pete. Yep, this is Pete Tedder, principal engineer with Pennachuck Water Works. We're looking to extend. We ran a 12-inch water main a few years back down Chestnut Street, and we're looking to extend that through an easement across Fields Grove Park to Lawndale Ave. It'll be a 16-inch high-density plastic water main.
So I guess my question is, since we are cutting into a road, how is it a hardship? Is someone having trouble with their water service, or?
No, it's part of our strategic plan to extend that main over to Lawndale Ave So we have redundant connections that parallel Main Street. The water main in Main Street is a 1920s vintage cast iron pipe. And although it's serving us very well, at some point it may have to be taken out of service to be maintained with a cleaning and lining program or shut down for repair, in which case, let's see, west of Main Street would have some difficulty getting flows through it. Whereas east of Main Street, we have a large water main going up Fifield Street to the tank behind Riviera College, and then 16-inch mains extending beyond that down to Main Street. On the west side, we don't have that luxury just yet.
Right, but I think the reason it's supposed to be, it doesn't sound like an emergency, because the reason for the hardship is that we're cutting into a road that's still under the moratorium. So so it's not really an emergency. It's more
Mr. Mayor?
preventative.
Yes, is this Mr. Hudson?
Yeah, this is City Engineer Dan Hudson. I just, I want to point out, maybe people noted in the packet, but this is a section of Dead End Street. So it's at the very end of Chestnut. There's only a house or two there. So it's a very low use roadway. Unfortunately, where the existing water main dead ends, they need to end to the end of the street. So I just asked for your consideration of that point in evaluating whether it's appropriate or not. It's not like some of our other streets where it's impacting a significant amount of traffic.
Commissioners, anyone want to be recognized? I don't see anyone. Could you please call the roll?
Mayor Donches,
Yes.
Commissioner Pappas,
No.
Commissioner Moriarty,
Yes.
Commissioner Shoneman,
No.
Motion fails on a tie vote. Now I apologize because I need to leave, as I mentioned at the beginning. Our vice chair, Mr. Tees, is not with us because of a family health emergency, and we wish him the best. The previous vice chair was Commissioner Moriarty, so I'm going to turn the meeting over to him to lead chair the remainder of the meeting. Anyway, thank you very much for being with us, everyone, tonight. And Nick, if you are still on, again, we all wish you the best. And I'm sure I'll see you again before you leave, but this might be your last BPW meeting. Anyway, thank you. See you all later.
Okay, thank you. We are now on motion E, and Commissioner Pappas, if you can read that, please.
To consider the hardship request from Pennachuck Water Works for the excavation to repair water service at 124 West Pearl Street.
Are there any comments? And let's call a roll.
Commissioner Pappas,
Yes.
Commissioner Moriarty,
Yes.
Commissioner Shoneman,
Yes.
Okay, motion passes. Motion F. Commissioner Shoneman, would you like to read that?
Yeah. I move to approve the award of a construction contract for the Charlotte Ave Safe Routes to School project to Northeast Earth Mechanics of Pittsfield, New Hampshire, in the amount of $288,812.25. Funding will be through Department 160, Admin Engineering, Fund Grant, Activity Safe Routes, Charlotte Ave, Department 169 Wastewater, Fund Wastewater, Activity Description Stormwater Abatement, and Department 160, Admin Engineering, Fund Trust, Northeast Quadrant Sidewalk Fund.
Okay, that's the motion. Director Photo, is Is there any discussion on that?
I think that Engineer Hudson, City Engineer Hudson could explain probably a little bit further
Great.
to the commissioners.
Thank you, City Engineer Dan Hudson. So this is a project that's been around for a while, and we're excited that we're finally here at the construction phase. The project involves pedestrian safety improvements at the Charlotte Avenue Elementary School, including adding new sidewalk, a new crosswalk at the main school entrance, removing the other crosswalks, and then providing school zone flashing beacons with radar speed feedback, signs. This project, as was noted, is funded through a number of accounts. It's partially funded, or more than half of it's funded through a Safe Routes to School grant. I'm sorry, actually, it's a little less than half, but through a Safe Routes to School grant from the Department of Transportation. And this has been developed through their program. And then also there's wastewater funds and Northeast Quadrant sidewalk funds. So it's a good project. It's been through a number of public meetings, well considered, and therefore we ask for your approval so we can move into construction and get this built. If all things go well, we should have it constructed by the end of October.
Okay, thank you. Any commissioners have comments? Commissioner Shoneman?
I wish, oh, sorry.
Okay.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Do you have the numbers, Mr. Hudson, on which fund is paying how much? How much is in each bucket?
So the in Safe Routes to School funds, is I believe it's $107,000, $107,035.53. There's $75,000 in capital that was previously set aside by the city, and then there's $58,083 we intend to pull from wastewater, stormwater funds. It's a combined system out there, so the improvements, some of the improvements qualify for that. And then there's $48,963.72 coming from the Northeast Quadrant Fund.
I'm sorry, could you go through those one more time?
Sure. It's $107,035.53 from the Safe Routes to School program grant from DOT. $75,000 in capital that was previously established for this project. $58,083 in wastewater fund, stormwater category, and then $48,693.72 from the Northeast Quadrant Fund.
Okay, so that seems like a lot of money out of the Safe Routes to School, and it seems like, if I remember right, Charlotte Ave has been getting quite a bit out of that grant. How much is being used? How much of that grant is being used for the other walking-only schools? I know Mount Pleasant in our neighborhood is a walking-only school. My neighbors all send their kids there. What other improvements? How is this money being used besides for this project at Charlotte Ave at this particular school?
I can't speak to those other projects. I know there's been a few different projects that have been completed. This funding that I note is specific for this project. But I can't, I'm not familiar with the other projects that have occurred. I believe this is the last Safe Routes to School project under this program here. So this will
for Charlotte Ave or for all the schools?
I believe for all the schools. I mean, we can always reapply for future grant opportunities, but this I understand to be the balance of our current awarded funding.
Commissioner Moriarty, may I speak to this as well?
Absolutely.
Okay, so there have been several Safe Routes to School projects over the years, Commissioner Shoneman. There was a very large project that was done in Mount Pleasant. I can't tell you exactly how much or the total extent of it. But so many of this was actually the school department identified different projects that they wanted. Charlotte Ave was one of them. And so this was really pushed by the school department. We helped them with it. And this has honestly been going on as long as I've been director. I think it's been 8 or 9, 10 years that these people have been waiting for this. So this money is only slated specifically for Charlotte Ave. In other words, it can't be used for anything else. It was applied for Charlotte Ave and then designated to Charlotte Ave. I hope that helps answer your question.
Commissioner Pappas?
So I do have concerns that Dr. Crisp really hasn't, they haven't had a lot of help with, they're a walking school only, and there's as well as Pennachuck. And I do have concerns using wastewater. Does that, I don't know if that means the area is flooded. I don't know. I don't think we have enough information. So I would move to table for more information for next month.
May I speak, Commissioner Moriarty?
Yes.
For a minute? What additional information, Commissioner Pappas, are you looking for?
Well, how much of that money was given to Dr. Crisp, and how much money that Charlotte Ave has already gotten? Because I know we've really spent an awful lot of money from the safe routes to school, which I think is great. I think it's fine, but the issue is Charlotte Ave is not one of the isn't one of the walking only schools. And a lot of the kids who do walk to school, a lot of times they will have, they will have folks escort them to school. And also the fact that we didn't have the specific breakdown in advance of the amount of money that's being spent from each bucket.
Okay, may I speak, Commissioner Moriarty? Okay, so this money, if we don't accept this money for Charlotte Ave, we're going to lose this money. This money will not be able to be reallocated to another school. I just so everybody's clear. This is not safe routes to school money that we can just take and use wherever we think it's needed. This is specifically designated for Charlotte Ave. These people have waited a very long time. They've invested a lot in this project, and there's been a lot of safety issues that have happened over the years at Charlotte Ave, and that's one of the reasons that the state saw this as a very valuable project, and one that should be funded and move forward. So it's not that we can't look at other schools. We certainly should look at other schools if we have concerns about kids walking and safety. We should always be evaluating that. But I just want to be clear that no matter, Charlotte Ave has not received any safe routes to school. This is the first time. You've been hearing about it for a long time, so it may feel like they received a lot of funding, but the state would never allow us to get this off the ground. They have finally approved the money for us to be able to fund this project. So I think we've got a fairly tight time frame here, don't we, Engineer Hudson? If we don't take this money, we do run the risk of losing it. So I just want the commissioners understand that.
I would caution that if this gets delayed a month, we may lose this construction season. Already we're delayed getting us to this point. The COVID hit, and DOT had trouble and had to switch to remote work and everything like that. So there's been a number of factors which have resulted in this project being delayed to the very end of the construction season. We had hoped to do it and get it done before school started this year. That didn't happen. So yeah, I would caution that we may lose the construction season, in which case we may lose the $100,000 plus funding from DOT. So
if I can, why is wastewater money being used for that?
So as I explained, it's a combined sewer system out there. So some elements are eligible. We're putting in some drainage structures and curbing, which helps capture and channel the stormwater through the wastewater. There are stormwater funding elements, and so it qualifies for those things.
Okay. I
And-
would
and
caution that,
I'm sorry, I was just gonna, may I just add one thing, Commissioner Pappas, because this might help you understand too. This helps us to potentially reduce some of our CSOs, which we're really trying hard to do by reducing the amount of stormwater going into the system. I just wanted to add that.
okay, if I may?
Yes,
So I would just say in the future, it's really important when we have this much money that we really break the bucket down in advance.
Mhm.
I would find that really helpful if people really pay attention to detail in that. I would find that really helpful in the future. Thank you.
I would have to.
Understood.
Yes. Director Fodor, I would have to agree with Commissioner Pappas on that. It would have been helpful to have the breakdown on that. With that said, and if Commissioner Pappas, if you're not opposed to moving the motion, I'd like to go ahead and move it unless Commissioner Shoneman, do you have additional comments?
No, I don't.
Okay. May we move the motion with a roll call?
Commissioner Pappas,
Yes.
Commissioner Moriarty,
Yes.
Commissioner Shoneman,
Yes.
Great. Okay, so the motion passes. We are now on motion G. If Commissioner Pappas, would you like to read that?
To approve the drain layers license for J.G. Gagnon and Sons Excavation, Inc. of Epping, New Hampshire, in accordance with the City Code 255/19, issuance of drain layers license.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the commissioners? If not, then we'll move the motion.
Commissioner Pappas,
Yes.
Commissioner Moriarty,
Yes.
Commissioner Shoneman,
Yes.
Okay, the motion passes. On to H, which is informational street opening permits issued for streets in moratorium. Director Fodor, could you explain that? Because I can't remember reading that in our packet.
I will ask Engineer Hudson to go over that, Commissioner.
Sure. So last month you approved grade 2 leaks, being and then reported on after the fact. What we've decided to do is also report on emergency work that occurs in moratorium streets. So what you have is a list of the work that occurred in July. In this case, it was 2 emergency water repairs, and those occurred on the moratorium streets noted. And this is something that we'll report monthly for the board's information. And then, of course, they will do the repairs and such as they're required.
Thank you. Any comments from the commissioners? Oh, okay, then we're moving on to administration, director's report.
Diane, can you show the director's report, please? Are we having difficulties, Diane? Oh, there we go. Okay. So the first slide that you'll see is some granite curbing that's put in by Brock's Industries subcontract Tri-State Curbing on Ald Street as part of the paving program. This is a picture of Denver Drive, which was crack sealed. We've crack sealed about 35 miles of roadway citywide. And this was done on July 31st. These are pictures of our paving program, photos of Carroll Street and Prescott Street, which were paved by Sunshine Paving. Our 2020 paving program is roughly 70% complete. This is the South Main Street roundabout. you'll see here that we reconstructed some of the sidewalks near around the roundabout to bring them up to ADA compliance. This is a sewer main installation on Summer Street, which was done on July 23rd as part of our sewer reconstruction project for 2020. This is paving work that was completed on Orange Street by Sunshine Paving on August 7th, and a nice thank you note that we received from a daily commuter. It's always nice to get those notes. We've been actually getting a fair amount of them lately, which is really nice. We appreciate when people send us notes. These are,
may I?
Sure.
So I don't know if it's me. Are we finding that I'm finding is our paving moving quicker than it was last year?
I think it's moving along very well. I think a pretty similar pace, but we're about 70% complete, so we're certainly on target with our paving for the season. Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Sure. These are our 2020 Hall of Fame inductees, Holman Stadium Hall of Fame inductees, in a ceremony that was held before the August 9th Silver Knights game. This year, the inductees are Alan Marion Savage, former Mayor Morris Orell, and Reverend Robert Woodland. Congratulations to them all. This is Roussel Park. Both the streets and park and rec departments work together on the regrading of the rectangular field at the park. The field will be seeded in early September. Hurricane Isaias, the department responded to over 20 requests for service over the course of the storm. Pictured on the left is the parking lot at our office, and on the right, a tree that fell on Perham Street. We had a tree fall in administration, and it took out our shed and the window in our van. Thankfully, nobody was injured, but we did have significant damage there. We're going to rebuild the shed, but as you can see, it was completely completely destroyed. Thank you for Park and Rec for responding quickly and cleaning that up for us. And we have subsequently taken down several trees that were in danger of coming down, so that doesn't happen again. This is a picture at the French Park. It shows a flower bed at the park that's maintained by Clock Tower resident Lorraine Provost, her husband Jeff, and friend Barbara. Thank you very much for taking care of that. It is beautiful. Soccer started up on August 17th, and we're out painting lines on our fields. This is the field at Maine Dunstable. This is a sinkhole.
If I may.
Sure.
Hello. And I think for whatever reason my phone's kind of beeping at me. I don't know if I'm gonna lose you guys. I'm gonna see if I can find a second phone. But I'm just wondering if when we do the soccer, are they just doing skills training, or are they gonna do actual games?
I think Superintendent Caggiano, are you still on?
Yes, I am.
What you want to speak to that?
Sure. Nick Caggiano, Park and Rec Superintendent. The NYSL and some World Cup teams are going to be playing a season. There's very strict guidelines that from the state that they have to follow, and Recreation Manager Kelly DeSimone is very adamant about making sure that they follow all the rules. But yes, they have started playing.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, next slide. We did a sinkhole repair on Stanley Lane, and we found through excavation that there was a stump dump below the sidewalk, interestingly enough. So we removed the stumps and the repair was completed.
What's a stump dump?
There were stumps for trees, stumps that were buried there underneath the sidewalk, and so as they decomposed, that's what created the void and caused the sidewalk to fail. Yeah.
So do people like literally, were there just stumps that we put a sidewalk over, or?
somebody must have taken down some trees and maybe pulled some stumps on on a property, that property or a neighboring property, and buried them in their yard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then when we put the
Okay.
sidewalk in, not realizing that there were stumps there. And then it just decomposes and cause the void.
Okay, thanks.
Sure. We did a berm installation here on Yarmouth Street to resolve a water runoff issue. We have been very busy painting school zone crosswalks. Our ongoing mill and fill program, on the left, we're milling on Sergeant's Ave, and on the right on West Hollis Street. We've also have worked on Perimeter Road this season.
If I may.
Yes.
So when I saw when I saw the painting of the crosswalks, I know it's an individual issue, but remember when we said we were going to, I think on Concord Street where Academy Drive is, that residents there wanted they wanted the stop bar replaced painting wise so that people don't block their street when they're trying to get in and out. It's Academy Drive in Concord Street. It's right near where you take a left to go onto Henry Burke.
Yes, and engineer, I was going to say engineer Dukran. You can tell I'm getting tired. City Engineer Hudson, I know you have a plan for that. Would you explain your thoughts to Commissioner Pappas, please?
I'm sorry, I don't have a plan in mind.
Lisa, this is Andy.
Oh, go ahead, Andy.
Andy Patrician, Assistant Director. I did have our guys paint those stop bars on those streets, so they are put back there.
Real? Okay. I guess I was there the day before yesterday. I didn't see it. I don't know. Maybe I'm losing my sight. I will contact someone if I didn't see the stop bar. Unless I gave you the wrong side, unless I gave the wrong side street, but I thought it was Academy that was right before, and I was just there like the day before yesterday. I didn't see it, but I'll double check and I'll let someone know if the stop bar isn't there. Thank you.
Okay. Work has begun to repair the settling that has occurred at Lincoln Park. We're rehabilitating the upper field area and parking lot right now. And you approved the new playground. I'm really excited for that new playground. This is a well-utilized area, a playground, and I know that the residents in that area will be very happy. And this is a picture of a manhole repair cover on Front Street. The street crew finished screening loam and regrading the Haynes Field behind Dr. Crisp Elementary School, which will be a great field to use. And we talked earlier about the pump station upgrades, which continue to move forward. This is the new Watson Street pump station, which is near completion. The next regional household hazardous waste collection will be held in Milford on Saturday, August 29th from 8 to noon. And the Four Hills Landfill and Natural Recycling Center will be closed Monday, September 7th for Labor Day, and all curbside collections will be delayed by one day that week. That's it. Are there any questions? Okay.
Oh, okay. That was great. Great report. A very busy month for the division.
Yes.
Yes. So, if there's no questions from the commissioners, then we'll move on to commissioners' comments. Are there any? Commissioner Shaw.
I was contacted, or I was speaking to a gentleman, 90 years old, very hale and hearty, and he gardens at one of the community garden plots. And he was told that they were to wear masks at all times while gardening. And he was further telling me that every time that he's been there, and he goes there practically every day, there's never been anyone within 200 feet of him while he's gardening. So I think, I understand that there was an email sent out saying that all users of the gardening plots must wear their masks at all times, or face revoking of their garden privileges. I have to say, there are a lot of ways to stay healthy. Social distancing and masks are one of them. Being outside and gardening is another one. And I think that this is really over the top to require people to wear masks while outside doing physical activity in places where there's not likely to be a crowd, I think is really over the top. That's my opinion.
Thank you. Commissioner Pappas?
Commissioner Moriarty, Superintendent Caggiano, do you want to respond to that, Commissioner Shoneman's comments?
Yes, Nick Caggiano, Park and Rec Superintendent. There is no such rule here at Greeley Park. There are other community gardens on the rail trail and behind Citizens Bank, and they're operated through the Great American Downtown, so I can't really speak for them. Our gardens here at Greeley, it's very well signed, and we ask people if they're adjacent to an active garden to wear a mask. So maybe if it is at Greeley, they're not interpreting the rules properly.
I also think, Commissioner Shoneman, was it definitely at Greeley, or could it have been on the rail trail?
No, it was Greeley.
It was it? Okay. So perhaps it would make sense for us to reach out to that gentleman and explain to him so he understands that, or maybe you could pass on to him that he doesn't have to wear a mask unless he's within 6 feet of another gardener. Correct, Nick?
If you're adjacent, so if you're gardening in your plot and the person next to you is gardening, we're asking them to wear masks, and that's not a park rec rule. That rule came down from the state through the UNH Cooperative Agency, who developed gardening guidelines for just these types of.
Anything else, Commissioner Shoneman?
No, that's all.
Commissioner Pappas?
Again, just to repeat to Superintendent Caggiano, that I do wish him the best, and I think that the city is certainly going to miss him. And I think that folks who certainly surround the park where he's been a neighbor for 20 years, he will be missed, and I certainly personally wish him the best also. Thank you.
Thank you. My comment would be the same thing, Nick. You've been great for the city. You're just a really good person, and we're so happy to have you here, and you've done so many good things for the city. So I wish you the best of luck in the future. I didn't realize it was public knowledge, but I guess it is. So
yes,
thank you so much.
I'm going to ask the board to accept you all received his, it wasn't in the packet, obviously, we just received it, but I'm going to ask you all to accept his retirement. I thought for a moment maybe I would ask you not to accept his retirement, and then maybe he couldn't go, but I don't want to do that to him. I've worked with Nick since I started with the city, going on 12 years now, and to say that I'm disappointed by his retirement is certainly an understatement. He's talked about retirement for a long time, but we thought we had at least a couple more years with him. And but after discussion, it became clear that it's in his best interest to retire at this time. Certainly not in the city's best interest, but Nick's. He's accomplished a lot during his tenure with the city, including building recreation programs and upgrading fields and playgrounds. I mean, I could go on for an hour about the extent of his accomplishments here. He has a strong vision for the Park and Recreation Department, and I always joke that he had the most fun job of all of us. And I would definitely agree. There's nothing like having a job trying to make people happy. And that was his mission every day. He knows his budget and his department like the back of his hand, and has been an extremely strong mentor. All of the superintendents that are on this call right now would tell you that he's been a strong mentor to all of his colleagues and a go-to person for all of them when they had questions. He wanted the residents of Nashua to have fun, and he was more than successful in doing that. Nick, we want to thank you for the significant impact you've made on the city during your 20 years here in Nashua. And thank you from the entire senior staff for your friendship and tireless effort, making the Division of Public Works the best division in the city. You will sorely be missed. So, and we will definitely be having a celebration before Nick leaves. So we will let you know the details of that later on.
Thank you.
There was one accomplishment I forgot to mention that I thought was huge. It was not a fun accomplishment, but it was a lot of work that Nick did, and that was to help come up with that safe routes to school. When I've been in 2007. I think that's when I started. November 2007 was my first. That was my first meeting. And I know at that time the division barely plowed any sidewalks, and it became a priority to go ahead and get kids to school safely. And Nick was able to help plot out which sidewalks would be most used by kids walking to school, and that was a really, really important project that he did a great job on. So that was one thing I forgot to mention. Thank you.
Commissioner Shonen, I'm sorry, yes.
I also want to add, obviously I haven't worked with Mr. Caggiano as long as the other commissioners and other people, but I knew of him and had met him many times before I became a member of the board, and his reputation preceded him as a great superintendent. And the fact that Parks and Rec has such an amazing reputation itself, there's so many good things to say about Parks and Rec. And I think that's in no small part to Nick himself. So, of course, it's going to be rough, but we wish you the best.
Thank you. Director Poto, question: will that resignation be on next month's agenda?
No, I would like to include it on this agenda if we could, Commissioner Moriarty. So if somebody could make a motion to accept the superintendent's retirement.
Well, I'll move to accept the superintendent Nick Caggiano's retirement as of September 2020.
Thank you for the motion. A roll call.
Commissioner Pappas,
Yes.
Commissioner Moriarty,
Yes.
Commissioner Shoneman.
Yes.
Okay, you're all done, Nick.
You can still change your mind. You can still change your mind, Nick. We'll be happy to rescind that.
You're a good man. Okay.
Okay. So, Commissioner Moriarty, we just have personnel, and do the commissioners feel comfortable doing this in public session, or?
I do.
Great.
Yeah.
Is that okay? We can just move forward? All right.
Yes, as long as we're not breaking any rules, that's fine.
No. It's just I was worried about the challenge of going into non-public and then coming back out, and yeah.
Gotcha.
Okay. If that's the case, we'll move forward with personnel agenda. So,
Okay.
motion A, please.
I'll move to approve the selection of Dan Bello of Nashua, New Hampshire to the position of wastewater collection systems operator at the wastewater treatment facility. Starting salary for the position will be $24.49 per hour. Funding will be through Department 169 wastewater fund, wastewater account classification, salary and wages.
Thank you. Any questions?
If you wanted me to give you a quick, Dan Bellows started, he actually worked at City Hall and came over to us as a wastewater assistant and he did exactly what we hope these positions will do, to work into other positions at the wastewater treatment plant. And he went and got his licenses and successfully completed testing and training. So we're excited for him that he's able to be promoted to this position. And he's a great guy.
No questions? We will move the motion, please.
Commissioner Pappas,
Yes.
Commissioner Moriarty,
Yes,
Commissioner Shoneman,
Yes.
motion passes. Motion B, Commissioner Shoneman.
I move to approve the selection contingent upon the acceptable results of criminal and driving records checks of Adam Guy of Milford, New Hampshire, to the position of analytical chemist at the wastewater treatment facility. Starting salary for this position will be $44,754. Funding will be through the Department 169 wastewater fund. Wastewater fund, wastewater account classification 51, salaries and wages.
Thank you for the motion. Director Photo.
So, yeah, so this is a new employee. I did interview Adam. He has, if you look at his resume, you can see that he has excellent qualifications. He was tested and very well qualified. He has a very good personality, and I think he's going to be a good fit, and he's very excited about the position. So we're excited to have him.
Questions from the commissioners? Okay, we'll take a roll.
Commissioner Pappas,
Yes.
Commissioner Moriarty,
Yes,
Commissioner Shoneman,
Yes.
motion passes. Great. Motion C, Commissioner Pappas.
I'll move to approve the selection of Matthew P. Doobie of Nashua, New Hampshire for the position of equipment operator, street department, street repair, street department. Salary for the position will be $24.49 per hour. Funding is through Department 161 Street Fund, General Account Classification, Salary and Wages.
Thank you. That's the motion. The photo.
So Matt Doobie is currently a truck driver at the street department, has been now for, I believe, 2 or 3 years, Superintendent Ibarra, and he's been a great employee. And we are looking forward to we tested him. He tested very well, and Superintendent Ibarra has been very impressed with his abilities, and we are happy to promote him to the position of equipment operator.
Great. Any questions from the commissioners? Okay, Diane, if you call the roll, please.
Commissioner Pappas,
Yes.
Commissioner Moriarty,
Yes,
Commissioner Shoneman,
Yes.
motion passes. Yeah, it looks like that concludes our agenda.
Yes.
Okay. I'll move to adjourn.
Motion accepted. Okay, that's it. We're adjourning at 7:33 p.m.
We gotta call the roll.
Well, you really don't want it when you adjourn, but we can. Commissioner.
Oh, okay, Arvin, then I'm good. I didn't realize that. All right. All
Okay,
right,
thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Good night.
Okay,
Good night,
good night.
everybody.
Good night.
Bye.
Bye-bye.